Hey everyone, today we will be creating this cool space badge in Adobe Illustrator. Now to start, I've provided a download link for the swatches that you'll need for this project. All you have to do is click the download link and then go into Adobe Illustrator and click the three little lines that show up on the upper right hand side of your swatches. Then go down to Open Swatch Library and click Other Library. Then you can find where the file was downloaded, click on it, and then select Open. So to start, I'm going to take the ellipse tool, and I'm going to start in the middle of my canvas. I'm going to drag out, hold Option and Shift so we get a perfect circle. And I'm going to choose the fill of this to be black, and I want to make sure that the stroke is set to none. Then I'm going to hit Command Y. And this is going to bring us to an outline view. Now I'm going to select the curvature tool, and we're going to create the kind of hills in the background. Start from the outside of the circle, then where I want the first hill to be, select a point, and then keep going, select a point where I want it to curve down into, and then keep selecting and creating curves until you get to the end, and then you can connect it back to the beginning. So for the second hill, I'm going to again start on the outside of the circle, a little bit higher than this first hill. I'm going to click outside and then see where I want the first hill to be and then click right there. And then I'm going to click down and then outside and around to complete the selection. And then we have one more hill, and that starts on this side, so I'm going to start on the other side of the circle, outside of it, click, and then create the hill, and then we can just complete this one pretty fast. Now we're going to get rid of some of this extra lineage outside of the circle, so we're going to take the selection tool, click and drag so we have everything selected. Then I'm going to select the Shape Builder tool, and I am going to hold Alt/Option and drag or click where you don't want the shapes to be outside the circle. So now before I switch from the outline view, I'm going to color these different shapes. So I'm going to select the one that is in the front and color it with the darker shade of purple. And then I'm going to select the one that comes right behind that. And then I'm going to select this lighter shade of purple. And finally, the one directly in the back gets a little bit darker than the lighter one. So now we're going to hit Command Y, and you can see where the heck is the other shape. Well, if we go over here to Layers, we can select this shape that we don't see by hitting this circle. Then we can hit Command with the right bracket and see how that brought that forward in front of the background shape. Then we can hit it again to bring it forward in front of everything. You can also go up to Object, Arrange, and this is what the command we were using for. Command and the right bracket. Or you can just bring to front and click this, or use the little shortcut. So now that we have our base down, let's create the cool planet on the top. So again, we're going to use our ellipse tool. We're going to find the center here, and we're going to click drag, hold Alt, Option, and Shift to create a perfect circle. And then we can move that around wherever we want to keep it in the center. You can also hold Shift to keep it on the same plane, or your smart guides will help you. So we want to change that to be the purple that it is, or any color that you want. Again, this is your creation. Change whatever color you want to customize it to what you need. So I kind of want to make this a little bit smaller, and to make sure it stays in that center point, again holding Option. So then we want to create the light rings around this, and this is super easy. Just click this original circle, Command C, and then Command F to paste right on top. And then we're going to click one of these anchors and drag, but we're going to hold Shift and Alt/Option to keep it also in the center, but just behind the circle. And then we're going to do that again, Command C, Command F with that new circle we created. Then hold that anchor, drag, shift, option, just a little bit bigger. Perfect. And now we want to select the two shapes we just created that were bigger than the original planet. So if you go over to your layers dialog, you can see that you can click like we just did before and select separate shapes that you just made. So we want to select both of these shapes that we just created. So if we select one, hold shift, click the other, then we have both selected. So I want to apply a gradient to both of these. So I'm going to click the gradient button down here below the stroke and fill. Now we have a gradient. You can see it covers up the original planet, but we'll fix that. So I want to drag the shape that we used for our planet down into both of these different colors that you can choose for the gradient. And then for one of them, I am going to choose the opacity to be 0. And then we're going to change this angle to be 90 degrees. And I want more of the color to show up on the bottom, so I'm just going to click this reverse gradient so it shows down on the bottom. So now I want to change the opacity of these rings around our planet to give it more of a glow. So I'm going to go to opacity and just drag down this slider until I like the effect. Perfect. Now I'm going to zoom in because we're going to create a few spots on our planet. Again, I'm going to use this ellipse tool, and I'm just going to draw a shape that I like. And I'm going to color this with a little bit darker of a purple than our planet. Then I'm going to take the selection tool, and I'm just going to adjust this and bring it on the side to how I like it. And then to easily duplicate this, I'm just going to click that shape and hold Alt/Option and drag it right over here, and see it creates a duplicate. And then I'm going to hold Shift while dragging down to create just a smaller version. And then I'm going to do that again and create another shape, but make it a lot smaller, and drag it over here and maybe rotate it. Perfect. Now we have our planet. Now I want to create some stars. So I'm going to go over to the shape tool, click and hold so I get extra options, go down to the star tool, and I want to create a custom shape for my star. So I'm going to click instead of clicking and dragging, and I'm going to make sure that I only have 4 points inputted, and then I'm going to click OK. And then I'm going to change the color to white. So now I'm just going to place these anywhere, and I'm going to create a couple. Maybe make this a little smaller. Again, you can put these wherever you want. They can be as big as you want. And remember our little tip, hold Alt/Option, click and hold, and then drag, and then you have a brand new star. Perfect. Now we have our starry sky with our planet. Now let's create the rocket. Again, going over to the shaper tool and choosing the ellipse tool, I'm going to click and drag out just kind of a longer oval, and I am going to choose this kind of gray. And then I'm going to take the direct selection tool, select this bottom point and bring it up just a little bit. Then I'm going to select the top point and stretch that out just a tad. So we have a rocket shape. I'm then going to select the shaper tool again, make sure the center is under our mouse, click, drag, hold Alt/Option and Shift, and we're going to create a window. And I'm going to fill this with this light blue. And then I'm also going to choose a stroke, which is going to be this darker red. Then I'm going to increase that until I like the size. Now let's create the wings for the rocket. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Again, taking our ellipse tool, finding the center, holding Alt/Option, this time without Shift, and just dragging down until we have a fin that we like. And I'm going to move this down and select that red, but make sure that it is filled, and then make sure there's no stroke. So now we have one fin. We can adjust this. Might want this a little bit higher. And now we have to create the other ones. So we're going to use the path tool for that. And I'm going to start hopefully right here where this top fin starts, and start from the inside of the rocket, create a point. And then I am going to click down here, but I am going to drag it out so I get a curve. And then I'm going to line it up where this fin we created stops. Click, but still drag. And then I'm going to come in just a little bit, click and drag. And remember, I'm clicking and dragging this whole time, and you can go in and edit this. I don't like how this fin turned out where these curves are, so I'm going to come in and adjust the curves. I'm also going to adjust where this is placed. So I might want this down a little bit more, and maybe this fin just a little bit more of a point. And you can hold Alt/Option to just work with one little antler on this point instead of changing the whole curve. So I'm going to do that on this side too. I just want more of a point, but also a little bit curved. So I like that. Perfect. And then we're going to change this to the same red. But again, make sure that it's the fill and make sure there is no stroke. And then we're going to use that command we used before, command, but now the left bracket, to put it behind the rocket. And then I am going to Command C, copy this, Command F, paste right on top. Then I'm going to go up to Object, Transform, Reflect. And we're just going to reflect this by 90 degrees. And then I'm going to drag this across while holding Shift so we stay on the same plane. And then we're going to just drag that right there. And it's important, these smart guides will help you to make sure that your placing is right and that this is symmetrical. So now we're going to group this together so it's easier to move it and resize it all at once. So I'm going to select each part of these and then hold Shift while I select other parts so they stay selected. And then I'm going to go up to Object, Group. And now when we select one part of this, all of it is selected. So I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to make this a little smaller, maybe a tad bigger. And we're going to center this right up with our planet. And maybe bring it up a touch. Awesome. So now let's create the flame for this. So we want to select our pen tool again, and we're going to create one half of the flame and then reflect it. So I'm going to start from the inside of the rocket, and then I am going to create a point down here, click and drag, so it kind of creates a curve, and then click and drag again. And the whole point here is we're clicking and dragging to create these different curves. And you can probably also use the curve tool, but for this I have some lines that are a little bit more severe than the nice curves that the curve tool would provide us with. So I'm going to close this path that we just created, and then I can go in, maybe this point right here isn't as nice and curvy as I would like it, so we're just going to edit that and then come back out, and I am going to choose this orange color again for the fill and no stroke. So now we're easily going to reflect this to the other side. Remember what we did, Command C, Command F, then go up to Object, Transform, Reflect, keep everything the same, click OK. We're going to drag this over holding Shift so it stays on the same plane, and we're just going to make sure that these overlap so we don't get a weird kind of empty line in the middle. And then we can combine these by making sure both are selected, going over to the Shape Builder tool, and just dragging right through there. And then again, we're going to put this behind the rocket, so click this, then Command left bracket, and we're just going to throw that right behind. All right, and then we're going to create one more dimension of this flame. So we're going to use the pen tool again, click right here inside the rocket, and then make sure that our path is inside of our past path that we created. And then we're just kind of creating another little outline in here, and it can be whatever you want. We want this to look different than the one we just created, and we want it to look like flames, or kind of flames with smoke. And then we're going to close this off, and we're going to make sure that our fill is selected and select this lighter orange. And then we are going to do what we did before, Command C, Command F, Object, Transform, Reflect. Then again, dragging, holding Shift to make sure that it is perfectly in line. And again, you see how I brought this over and there is this kind of empty space down here. What we can do, we can either drag this a little bit over to the left, but it looks like it's going to kind of ruin our design. So we can just go down here. We can select our direct selection tool and just drag this over. And it doesn't matter because this portion is not even going to be in our design. So then we want to make sure this is a full shape. Select one side, Shift, select the other side, go over to the shape builder, and boom! We've created one whole shape, and then we're going to throw that back to be behind the rocket, but in front of our other shape. So now let's get rid of this extra design beneath this circle. So we're just going to take the selection tool, drag up, make sure all this is selected, then go over to our shape builder tool, hold Alt/Option, and just drag to the pieces that we do not want. There may be a little bit extra down here, you can just click and get rid of. Alright, now we got a base down, so now let's create the outside with our text. So what we can do is we can just select this original shape we created, and then make sure the stroke is also set to black. And we need to do a little bit of editing on this line to make sure it doesn't impose on our design. So we want to go up to stroke and make sure that this align stroke to outside is selected. And then we can increase the size of it without it going inside of our design. And you can make this as big or small as you want. Now we're going to create the text that goes around our circle. So I'm going to select the original circle we created, hit Command C, and then Command F to paste right on top. And then we're going to go over to the Type tool, click and hold until we see Type on a Path tool and select that. And then we're going to click right on the new shape we created. You can see that, well, after I make it a text color that you can actually see, that we have text all around our circle. So I want to click on that and edit it to what I want it to be. And then also to the font that I want. So you can't really, it's kind of upside down, so I'm going to change this to a font that I like. And then how do we get this to be on the top and also centered? So I'm going to click my selection tool, and you can see these two little lines up here if I zoom in. And if I hover over these, we get a line with an arrow. So I'm going to make sure that I see that line with the arrow, click and drag until that is on this point, lines up right there, and then take this arrow, click and drag to that point. And then I'm going to make sure that Align Center is selected for the text, and so this is on the bottom, we don't want that. So we're going to rotate this circle until it is perfectly around, and I'm going to hold Shift so it centers perfectly. And there we go, centered text. And I want these letters to kind of reach out a little bit more, so what you can do if your text is a little bit kind of smushed together, you can edit this right here, it says kind of VA, and you can just hold that until you like the spacing between your letters. So now we're going to create the bottom text, and we are going to just duplicate this text layer. So I'm going to click that, Command C, Command F. I'm just going to drag this down here. Then remember, hold Shift, so it's perfectly centered. And now I'm going to type out what I want to say down here. I want to make this text a little smaller, so I'm just going to do that. And then we have this kind of text and it's upside down, and we don't want that. So we want to click our selection tool and we want to go up here. It's hard to see, you kind of have to zoom in to see this line, and we're going to just drag this line on the inside, and that makes our text so it's on the inside. And this is kind of weird. Now it's behind everything. And we can go up to Object, Arrange, Bring to Front, and then I'm going to make this circle a little bit bigger after I center it down here, so that it kind of is inside this black outline instead of in here. So I'm going to select this point, click hold Shift, and also hold Option until I like where that's placed. And then I think I'm going to make that a little bit smaller. And now we're going to create the lines that kind of complete our design for this outline. So I'm going to duplicate this original circle again, and to make sure I select that instead of the text, I'm going to go over to layers and make sure that I have this original circle selected. So then again, Command C, Command F, and I'm going to take the selection tool, click one of these points, hold Option Alt and Shift, and drag it to about the center. And then we get rid of the fill, and we change the outline to white. You can see it's a bit big, so we're going to bring this down to about 5, see what that looks like. Perfect. And I'm going to make this a little bit bigger after I change what this line looks like. In the original design, it's kind of like this rough stroke. So I'm going to go over here to Basic, and right under the Basic one we have kind of this cool looking smudged stroke. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, actually a little bit smaller. So how do we get it to just be on either side and not conflicting with our text? So we're going to go over to the scissor tool. If it doesn't look like scissors, it might look like the eraser tool. Just click and hold till you see scissors. So I'm going to click where I want this to kind of be a gap between these two letters. Click that, and then there should be a smart guide right here. You see that pink line, so I can select exactly where these kind of would meet up. And then I'm going to do the same thing down here. Click, and then use a smart guide with that intersect. Click, and then I'm going to take the selection tool and select those pieces that I don't want. And now we have a cool effect for our badge. Did you try out today's tutorial? If you did, send us a DM with your design on Instagram and have the chance to be featured. Be sure to join our Facebook group where graphic and digital design discussion is encouraged. You can get help from professionals and access to more tutorials and courses that will take your design skills to the next level. I hope to see you there and chat with you. Thank you so much for watching.